In the rugged, green expanse of ancient Ireland, the tale of Cú Chulainn comes to life. This story is set in the age of the legendary kings and warriors, around the 1st century BCE. It tells of a time when the land was ruled by fierce chieftains and magic was always in the wind. It was in this era, in the province of Ulster, that the young warrior Cú Chulainn earned his fame. Cú Chulainn is one of the most famous heroes in Irish mythology. He's known for his unmatched strength and bravery, but he's also known for his wild transformation called the warp spasm, a sort of berserker mode. His life was full of battles, friendships, and legendary stories that still inspire people today. Let's take a closer look at who he was and why he's remembered as one of Ireland's greatest warriors. The beginning of a hero. Cú Chulainn was born with the name Sétanta. His mother, Doichtine, was the sister of Conchobar mac Nessa, the king of Ulster. But Sétanta was not any ordinary child. His father was Lugh, the god of light and crafts, which meant that Sétanta had special powers even as a boy. People could tell he was different from the other boys. He had incredible strength and a fearless nature for a child. As a young child, Sétanta loved to play with the other boys, but he was always stronger and faster than anyone else. One day, he wanted to prove himself to the warriors of Ulster, so he set off on an adventure to join them. This is when the story of how he got the name Cú Chulainn began. The Hound of Cooley. One day, King Conchobar invited Sétanta to a feast at the home of Chulainne the blacksmith. Chulainne had a huge guard dog that protected his property. The feast at Chulainne's hall was a sight to behold. The great room was alive with the glow of torchlight, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. Laughter and the clinking of goblets filled the air as guests shared stories of bravery and battles. The rich scent of roasted meats and spiced wine drifted through the room, mingling with the sounds of music played by the finest bards. Yet, beyond the fortified walls of the feast, a watchful silence lay over the grounds. Outside, Chulainne's guard dog prowled the perimeter, muscles taut beneath its dark, coarse fur. The creature's ears twitched at every whisper of movement, and its eyes, keen as embers, scanned the darkness. This was no ordinary guard dog. It was a beast known for its unyielding loyalty and sheer power. Every step it took was deliberate, its massive paws silent against the earth as it patrolled. The slightest rustle of leaves would cause its head to snap toward the sound, teeth bared and ready. As Sétanta approached the gates, humming a tune from his hurling match earlier, he sensed something shift in the air. Before he could react, the hound burst forth, muscles coiled and eyes blazing, a deep growl rolling from its chest like thunder. But Sétanta did not flinch. With the calm of a seasoned warrior, he reached for his hurley and the small slitter in his pouch. In one fluid motion, he struck the ball with a force that sent it whistling through the air. It met its target perfectly, lodging deep in the beast's throat. The dog's charge faltered. Its eyes, once fierce, now wide with shock as it fell heavily to the ground, the growl fading into silence. Chulainne was upset when he found out that his prized dog was dead. Seeing this, Sétanta promised that he would guard Chulainne's home himself until a new dog could be trained. Because of this brave act, Sétanta was given the name Cú Chulainn, which means Hound of Cooley. Training to become the best. As Cú Chulainn grew older, he knew he needed to become even stronger and smarter. He wanted to be the greatest warrior ever. He traveled to the land of shadows to train with Scahach, a warrior queen known for her fierce fighting skills. Scahach was tough and pushed Cú Chulainn to his limits. She taught him how to use different weapons and fight in new ways. One of the things Scahach taught him was how to use the gabolgier, a special spear that could cause great damage. When thrown, it would split into many sharp points inside the enemy, making it always deadly. While training with Scahach, Cú Chulainn met another student named Ferdiad. The two became best friends and often practiced together. They were both strong and skilled, but there was always a question of who was better. This friendship would later lead to one of the most heartbreaking battles in Cú Chulainn's life. The warp spasm, a fearsome power. Cú Chulainn was not only strong, but also had a unique ability called the warp spasm or reashtrot. This was a kind of transformation that happened when he became extremely angry or excited in battle. Think of it as an improved berserk mode. His body would change in strange and frightening ways. His muscles would bulge, his skin would turn red, and one of his eyes would pop out while the other would sink deep into his head. His hair would stand up, and sparks would fly from his body. He became so terrifying that enemies would often run away just at the sight of him. This power made Cú Chulainn nearly unbeatable in battle, but it also made him a figure of fear. The Cattle Raid of Cooley. One of Cú Chulainn's most famous adventures was during the Cooley, or the Cattle Raid of Cooley. This story began when Queen Maeve of Canute wanted to steal a famous bull called Don Cooley to match the wealth of her husband, King Ailill. She gathered a massive army and marched to Ulster to take the bull. However, the men of Ulster were under a terrible curse that left them weak and unable to fight. This curse was said to have been cast by the goddess Macha as a punishment for the men of Ulster. The only person not affected by the curse was Cú Chulainn. He knew he had to defend Ulster all by himself. The Single Combat Challenge. Cú Chulainn decided to stop Queen Maeve's army by challenging one warrior at a time to single combat. This way, he wouldn't have to fight the entire army at once. Day after day, different warriors stepped forward to fight him, and day after day, Cú Chulainn defeated them all. His bravery and strength were unmatched, but Queen Maeve was clever and knew Cú Chulainn's weakness. She used trickery to try to defeat him, sending waves of warriors to wear him down and even sending spies to learn his secrets. The battle with Ferdiad. The saddest part of the story came when Queen Maeve managed to convince Ferdiad, Cú Chulainn's old friend from training, to fight against him. Ferdiad didn't want to fight Cú Chulainn, but he felt he had no choice. The two friends met at the ford, a shallow part of the river, and fought for 3 long days. They fought with swords, spears, and even their bare hands. Neither wanted to kill the other, but they both knew only one could win. On the 3rd day, Cú Chulainn realized he would have to use the Gabolgier. With a heavy heart, he threw the spear, and it struck Ferdiad, killing him. Cú Chulainn cried as he held his friend's body, filled with grief and regret. Cú Chulainn's final battle. As Cú Chulainn grew older, he faced many more battles and challenges. His enemies knew they could never beat him in a fair fight, so they used magic and tricks to weaken him. One day, Cú Chulainn was tricked by 3 witches who gave him enchanted food that sapped his strength. Even when he was weak, Cú Chulainn refused to back down. In his final battle, he tied himself to a standing stone so that he could face his enemies while standing. This way, even if he died, he would not fall. It was only when a crow, believed to be the goddess the Morrigan, landed on his shoulder that his enemies knew he was dead. This was how they knew Cú Chulainn had finally been defeated. Cú Chulainn's story is remembered not just because he was strong, but because he was loyal, brave, and willing to protect his people no matter the cost. He was a hero who faced impossible challenges and never gave up, even when it meant fighting his own friend or facing certain death. Today, Cú Chulainn is still a symbol of courage and heroism in Irish culture. Statues and stories of him can be found all over Ireland, reminding people of the fearless warrior who once defended Ulster by himself.